The red light flashed across the command center deep underground in Seoul. Admiral Hana stared at the massive screen showing the incoming message from space. Her hands were steady, but her heart was racing. After 50 years of preparing for this moment, it had finally come. The alien face on the screen was terrifying. Admiral Kethvar of the Axiom race looked like a walking crystal with glowing blue eyes. His voice was cold and sharp like broken glass when he spoke. "Humans of Earth," the alien said. "You have been found guilty by the Viridian Alliance. Your species spreads too fast. You fight too much. You are dangerous to the peace of the galaxy." Captain Wu stood beside Hana, his face getting red with anger. Commander Nari was taking notes, her pen moving quickly across the paper. Both officers knew this day would come, but hearing it still felt like a punch to the stomach. "We give you 72 hours, Kethvar continued. "Surrender your weapons, surrender your ships, surrender your freedom. If you do not, we will destroy every human in the galaxy. Every man, woman, and child will die. This is not a threat. This is a promise." The screen went black. The command center was silent except for the quiet hum of computers. 50 people worked at their stations, but nobody made a sound. They all looked at Admiral Hana, waiting for her to speak. Hana was quiet for a long moment. She thought about her daughter who lived in Busan. She thought about her parents who had died fighting in the Mars colonies. She thought about the billions of humans living on Earth and on planets across the galaxy. "Captain Wu," she said finally.
"What do we know about their fleet?"
Wu pulled up the data on his tablet. 50,000 ships, Admiral. The biggest fleet in galactic history. They have weapons that can crack planets in half. Their shields can stop anything we have ever built. "Commander Nari," Hana said. "What about diplomacy?" Nari shook her head. "They are not interested in talking, Admiral. Our spies say the decision was made months ago. The Alliance wants humans gone forever." Hana walked to the center of the room. Everyone stopped working and looked at her. She was not a tall woman, but she commanded respect. Her black hair was turning gray from years of stress. Her eyes were hard like steel. 50 years ago," she said, "my grandfather told me something. He said that humans are different from other species. We do not give up. We do not surrender. When someone tries to destroy us, we fight back harder than they ever expected." She walked to her command chair and pressed a red button that had been waiting for this moment for decades. Alarms started ringing throughout the building. Deep underground, machines that had been sleeping for years began to wake up. "Send the message," Hana ordered. "Protocol Crimson Dawn is now active." Captain Wu's fingers flew over his keyboard. Coded messages shot out from Earth to every corner of the solar system. To Titan Station hiding behind Saturn. To the asteroid belt where secret shipyards had been working for decades. To the gas giant Jupiter where entire fleets waited in the clouds. "Admiral," said Lieutenant Dell from his communications station. "All stations are responding. The Ghost Fleet is waking up." Hana smiled for the first time in hours. The aliens thought they knew everything about humanity. They had been watching Earth for years, counting human ships, studying human weapons. They thought humans were weak and primitive. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Commander Nari pulled up star charts on her screen. "The alien fleet will reach Earth in 6 days," she said. "Should we evacuate the cities?" "No," Hana said. "We stay and fight. Send a message to all human colonies. Tell them what is happening. Tell them to prepare." Captain Wu looked confused. "Admiral, with respect, we cannot win this fight. They have 50,000 ships. We have maybe 500 that they can see." Hana's smile grew wider. "Captain, they can see 500 of our ships, but they cannot see the other 200,000. The room fell silent again. Even the officers who knew about the secret projects felt their hearts skip a beat. 200,000 ships. It seemed impossible. "For 50 years, Hana explained, we have been building ships in secret, inside asteroids, inside the atmospheres of gas planets, in dimensions the aliens cannot detect. We learned from every alien ship that crashed on our worlds. We studied their technology and made it better." She pressed another button on her chair. The main screen showed images from across the solar system. Ships that looked like nothing the aliens had ever seen were powering up their engines. They were sleek and deadly, painted black like the space around them. "These are not normal human ships," Hana continued. "These ships can phase through dimensions. They can create gravity wells. They can absorb energy weapons and turn that energy into more power for their own guns." Lieutenant Tay at the weapons station was staring at his screen in amazement. "Admiral, the power readings from these ships are incredible. Each one is stronger than an entire alien battle group. The aliens think they are hunting sheep, Hana said. They do not know they are walking into a trap set by wolves. Commander Mina entered the command center carrying a thick folder of papers. She was the head of the secret shipyard projects, and she looked tired but excited. Admiral, she reported, all Baekdu-class dreadnoughts are ready for battle. The Hanbok-class fighters are loaded and waiting. The crews have been training for this day their entire lives. Hana nodded. How long until all ships are in position? 18 hours, Admiral. The aliens will never see them coming. The command center was now buzzing with activity. Officers were talking quickly into headsets. Screens showed data streaming in from across the solar system. The secret human fleet was moving into attack positions. Captain Wu was reading reports from the outer system. Admiral, our scouts report the alien fleet is moving slower than expected. They are being careful, checking for traps. Smart, Hana said, but not smart enough. She stood up from her chair and walked to the window that looked out over Seoul. The city was quiet, but she could see people in the streets looking up at the sky. They knew something was happening. In 3 days, she said to her officers, the aliens will arrive expecting to find scared humans begging for mercy. Instead, they will find the most dangerous predators in the galaxy waiting for them. The red alert lights were still flashing. The countdown had begun. In 72 hours, the galaxy would change forever. The Viridian fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. 50,000 alien warships spread out in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming like jewels in the starlight. Each ship was the size of a small city, armed with weapons that could destroy planets. General Voxtar of the Helix race stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Death's Promise. He was 12 feet tall with 4 arms and skin like metal armor. His yellow eyes scanned the displays showing human ships in the distance. Only 400 ships? He laughed, his voice like grinding gears. The humans are even weaker than we thought. Admiral Kethvar appeared on his communication screen. General, do not underestimate them. Humans are tricky creatures. Tricky? Voxtar waved one of his 4 hands dismissively. Look at their ships. They are tiny. They have no heavy weapons. This will be over in an hour. Deep inside Titan Station, Captain Inho was watching the alien fleet on his screens. The station looked like a regular mining facility from the outside, but inside it was the control center for humanity's greatest secret. For 30 years, Inho had been waiting for this moment. All Ghost Fleet commanders, he spoke into his headset. This is Titan Control. Begin Phase 1 activation. Across the solar system, impossible things began to happen. Inside the great red spot of Jupiter, massive shapes started to move. What looked like space debris near the asteroid belt began to unfold into warships. Empty space itself seemed to crack open as ships phased in from other dimensions. Commander Mina was aboard the dreadnought Baekdu's Fury, hidden inside a hollow asteroid. She had spent 20 years designing this ship with her team of engineers. It was 5 miles long and armed with weapons that could tear holes in space itself. All crew members, she announced over the ship's speakers, prepare for dimensional shift. We are going hunting. The asteroid around her ship dissolved like smoke. The Baekdu's Fury emerged, its black hull absorbing light like a hungry shadow. Along its sides, weapons that looked like silver dragons were powering up. Lieutenant Tay sat in the cockpit of his Hanbok-class fighter, one of 50,000 single-pilot ships that had been waiting for this day. His fighter was small, but it could manipulate gravity itself. He could make his enemies heavy enough to crush themselves or light enough to float helplessly in space. Ghostwing Alpha, he said into his radio. All fighters ready for launch. Copy that. Ghostwing Alpha, came the reply from Captain Dal aboard the command ship Soul's Pride. Show them what human pilots can do. The alien fleet had detected the small human ships and was moving to attack. General Voxtar was confident this would be easy. His ships had shields that could stop any weapon. His guns could melt through any armor. All ships, he commanded, advance and destroy the humans. Leave no survivors. But as the alien fleet moved forward, their sensors began picking up strange readings. More ships were appearing out of nowhere. At first it was dozens, then hundreds, then thousands. General, his sensor officer reported, I am detecting massive energy signatures throughout the system. It appears we missed something in our intelligence reports. Voxtar looked at his screens in confusion. Where there had been empty space moments before, human ships were materializing everywhere. They were unlike anything in the galactic databases. These ships seemed to bend light around themselves. They moved in ways that should have been impossible. Captain Inho smiled as he watched the alien confusion from Titan Station. Phase 2, he ordered. Full fleet reveal. The solar system filled with human warships. They emerged from inside gas giant atmospheres, unfolded from asteroid belts and stepped sideways from hidden dimensions. In 10 minutes, the human fleet grew from 400 ships to over 200,000. Commander Mina's dreadnought was leading a group of similar massive ships. Each one was armed with dimension-ripping cannons and protected by shields that existed in multiple realities at the same time. She had named them after Korean mountains because they were as immovable and dangerous as the peaks of her homeland. All Baekdu-class ships, she commanded, target the enemy flagship. Let them see what human engineering can do. The Baekdu's Fury fired its main weapon. A beam of twisted space-time shot across millions of miles and struck General Voxtar's ship. The alien shields that had never failed before simply disappeared, dissolved by weapons that attacked reality itself. Lieutenant Tay and his fighter squadron were already among the alien ships. His small craft danced between the massive enemy vessels like deadly butterflies. When alien weapons tried to target him, he would increase his ship's gravity field and fall faster than their guns could track. This is Ghost Wing Alpha, he reported. Enemy weapons are useless against gravity fighters. Beginning attack runs. His fighter squadron swarmed over the alien ships like angry bees. They would land on the enemy hulls, plant gravity mines that would crush the ships from the inside, then fly away before the aliens knew what hit them. General Voxtar's bridge was in chaos. His ships were being destroyed by weapons they had never seen before. His sensors could not track the human fighters. His shields were being eaten away by strange energy beams. All ships retreat, he ordered. Fall back to defensive positions. But as the alien fleet tried to retreat, they discovered that human ships had surrounded the entire solar system. There was no escape. Captain Dal aboard Soul's Pride had been feeding false information to the aliens for weeks through hidden spy networks. Every piece of intelligence they had about human capabilities was wrong. Every tactical plan they had made was useless. Admiral Hana, he reported to Earth Command. The aliens are trying to run. Should we let them go? From her underground bunker, Admiral Hana's voice was cold and hard. No survivors leave the system, Captain. They came here to commit genocide. They need to learn that attacking humanity has consequences. The human fleet moved like a perfectly coordinated machine. Ships that could phase through dimensions appeared inside alien formations. Gravity-based weapons crushed enemy vessels like tin cans. Energy-absorbing armor turned alien laser blasts into power for human guns. Commander Mina watched as her dreadnought's weapons tore through an entire alien battle group. The enemy ships were strong, but they were built to fight conventional warfare. They had no defense against weapons that attacked the basic forces of physics. Target their command ships, she ordered. Cut off their communications. Make them fight alone and afraid. General Voxtar realized that his mighty fleet was being destroyed by an enemy they had completely misunderstood. These humans were not the primitive savages from intelligence reports. They were apex predators who had been pretending to be prey. Send an emergency message to the Alliance, he commanded his communications officer. Tell them we need immediate reinforcements. Tell them everything we knew about humans was wrong. But even as he gave the order, Voxtar knew it was too late. His ship was surrounded by human fighters that moved like ghosts and struck like lightning. His shields were failing. His weapons were useless. The last thing he saw before his ship exploded was a human fighter pilot through his view screen. Lieutenant Tay gave him a small salute before his gravity mine turned the Death's Promise into a cloud of twisted metal. In 6 hours, the mighty Viridian fleet was reduced to burning wreckage floating in space. Not a single human ship was destroyed. The solar system belonged to Earth, and the galaxy was about to learn that humanity was no longer hiding. Admiral Bora stood on the bridge of the Teguk, humanity's largest warship. The ship was 10 miles long and armed with weapons that could create artificial black holes. Around her, the solar system was filled with the wreckage of the Viridian fleet, but the battle was far from over. Admiral, reported her tactical officer, we are receiving emergency transmissions from the aliens. They are calling for help from their home systems. Bora smiled coldly. She had been planning this moment for 20 years. The destruction of the Viridian invasion fleet was just the beginning. Now humanity would show the galaxy what true warfare looked like. Let them call, she said. We want their reinforcements to come. The more aliens we destroy here, the fewer we have to hunt down later. Commander Jun was leading a squadron of Arirang-class destroyers toward the surviving alien ships. His vessels were smaller than the enemy warships, but they were armed with quantum disruptors that could unravel matter at the molecular level. All Arirang ships, he commanded, target the alien command vessels. Show them what happens when you threaten human children. The human destroyers opened fire with weapons that made reality itself unstable. The alien ships' energy shields, which had protected them in countless battles, simply fell apart when hit by the quantum beams. The proud warships of the Viridian Alliance dissolved like sugar in rain. Captain Yuna was piloting the experimental ship Hwarang, a vessel that defied everything the aliens thought they knew about physics. Her ship could split into 12 separate units, each controlled by advanced artificial intelligence systems named after Korean historical heroes. Admiral Yi, take point, she commanded her ship's AI. General Yulji, flank left. King Sejong, prepare the trap. The Hwarang broke apart like a flower opening its petals, 12 deadly ships where there had been one, each moving with perfect coordination. The aliens fired desperately at what they thought was a single target, only to discover they were fighting an entire fleet. The remaining Viridian ships were trapped in the middle of the solar system with nowhere to run. Their faster-than-light engines had been disabled by human gravity weapons. Their communication systems were being jammed by technology that existed in multiple dimensions at once. General Kyung appeared on Admiral Bora's communication screen from his ship Bulguksa. He was the oldest human commander in the fleet, a veteran of the secret wars that had been fought in the shadows for decades. Admiral, he reported, our intelligence was correct. The aliens have no defense against dimensional warfare. Their technology is advanced, but it is limited to normal spacetime. Bora nodded. For 50 years, humanity had been reverse engineering crashed alien technology, but instead of simply copying what they found, human engineers had improved it. They had made it better, faster, deadlier. How many alien ships are still functional? She asked. Less than 5,000, Kyung replied, and they are scattered across the system. Most of them are trying to hide behind planets or moons. Then it is time for the demonstration, Bora decided. Show the galaxy what human mercy looks like. She opened a communication channel to all alien ships in the system. Her image appeared on their screens. A small Korean woman with graying hair and eyes like steel. Attention, Viridian forces, she said calmly. You came here to commit genocide against my species. You plan to kill every human man, woman, and child in the galaxy. This was your choice. On the alien ships, terrified crews listened to the human admiral's words. They had never seen warfare like this. Their weapons were useless. Their shields were gone. Their mighty fleet was scattered wreckage. However, Bora continued, humans are not monsters. We do not kill for pleasure. Surrender now, and you will be treated according to galactic law. Continue fighting, and you will be destroyed with weapons you cannot understand. Some alien ships immediately powered down their weapons and sent surrender signals, but others, driven by pride or desperation, continued to fight. Commander Jun's squadron encountered a group of stubborn alien cruisers hiding behind Mars. The enemy ships opened fire with everything they had, filling space with deadly energy beams. All Arirang ships, Jun commanded, demonstrate void steel armor. The human destroyers flew directly into the alien weapon fire. The energy beams struck their hulls and simply disappeared, absorbed by armor that turned enemy attacks into fuel for their own systems. The aliens watched in horror as their most powerful weapons made the human ships stronger. Return fire, Jun ordered. Quantum disruptors, minimum power. We want prisoners, not corpses. The human weapons reached out like invisible hands and gently took apart the alien ships. Hulls separated along molecular lines. Weapon systems simply stopped existing. Life support remained intact, keeping the alien crews alive but helpless. Captain Yuna's Hwarang was hunting alien scouts near Jupiter. The enemy ships were fast and tried to use the planet's gravity to escape, but they had never fought an opponent that could control gravity itself. King Sejong, she told her ship's AI, create a gravity well around Jupiter, make it impossible for them to escape. Space around the gas giant twisted and bent. The fleeing alien ships found themselves trapped in artificial gravity fields that pulled them in circles like water going down a drain. They could not escape, but they were not being destroyed either. Admiral Yi, Yuna continued, disable their engines. General Yulji, jam their communications. I want them alive for questioning. The Hwarang's 12 components moved like dancers around the trapped aliens. Precision weapons reached out and carefully destroyed only the systems needed to make the enemy ships helpless. The alien crews were captured without a single death. Back on the Taeguk, Admiral Bora was receiving reports from across the solar system. Human forces were systematically capturing or destroying every alien ship, but they were doing it with surgical precision that amazed even her experienced officers. "Admiral," her communications officer reported, "we are receiving surrender signals from over 3,000 alien ships. They are requesting mercy terms." "Grant them," Bora ordered, "but keep them under guard. We will need them as witnesses to what happened here." General Kyung's voice came over the fleet communication network. "All ships, this is Kyung. Long-range sensors detect reinforcement fleets approaching from 12 different Viridian home systems. Estimated arrival time 6 days. Bora felt her heart race with anticipation. The real battle was about to begin. The destruction of the invasion fleet was just a warm-up exercise. "Attention all human forces," she announced. Phase 3 is now active. Operation Dragon's Flight begins in 12 hours. We are going to visit our new alien friends in their home systems. Across the solar system, human ships began forming into attack groups. These were not the same vessels that had fought defensively around Earth. These were hunter-killer fleets designed to carry the war directly to enemy territory. The aliens had made a terrible mistake when they decided to destroy humanity. They thought they were dealing with a weak species that could be easily eliminated. Instead, they had awakened the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. And now those predators were coming for them. Captain Yuna's Hwarang was already preparing to jump to faster-than-light travel. Her target was the Axiom home system, where Admiral Kethvar had originated the order to destroy humanity. "All AI systems," she commanded, "prepare for deep space hunting. It is time to show the Axioms what happens when you threaten human families." The artificial intelligences controlling her ship's 12 components responded in unison. "Understood, Captain. Initiating Dragon protocols. The hunt begins." In 6 hours, humanity would strike back at the heart of the Viridian Alliance. The aliens had started this war expecting easy victory. They were about to learn that destroying Earth's children was the last mistake they would ever make. Captain Hoon stood in the command center of his strike fleet as 12,000 human warships prepared to jump through experimental wormholes. His target was the Axiom home system, the crystal world where Admiral Kethvar had sentenced humanity to death. "All ships," he announced, "remember the mission. We are not conquerors, we are teachers. The lesson is simple. Attacking human families has consequences." The wormhole generators powered up around his flagship Dragon's Breath. These machines were based on alien technology that humans had captured and improved over decades of secret research. But where aliens used wormholes for transportation, humans had weaponized them. Commander Sora was studying intelligence reports at her station. For 30 years, she had been running spy networks throughout Viridian space. Human agents disguised as traders, diplomats, and refugees had been mapping every alien military base, every fleet position, every weakness. "Captain," she reported, "all 12 target systems have been confirmed. Military installations identified. Civilian populations located and marked for protection. We know where every alien ship is hiding." Hoon nodded. The aliens thought they were fighting a primitive species that had just discovered space travel. They had no idea that humans had been watching them for generations, learning their secrets, preparing for this day. "Execute Dragon's Flight," he commanded. 12,000 human ships disappeared into artificial wormholes and reappeared simultaneously at 12 different alien home systems across the galaxy. The coordinated attack was precise to the second, catching the aliens completely unprepared. In the Axiom system, Admiral Kethvar was in his command center when alarms began screaming throughout the Crystal City. His sensors showed impossible readings. Thousands of human warships had appeared from nowhere surrounding his homeworld. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Humans do not have wormhole technology." His tactical officer was studying the sensor data with confusion. "Admiral, these are not the same ships we encountered at Earth. These vessels are larger, more heavily armed, and their energy signatures are unlike anything in our databases. Admiral Chan commanded the human siege fleet that had appeared around the Axiom homeworld. His ships were Bulguksa-class vessels, each one capable of manipulating gravity on a planetary scale. But instead of destroying the crystal cities below, they were doing something far more terrifying. All Bulguksa ships, Chan ordered, activate gravitational lenses, disable all military targets with precision strikes, avoid civilian casualties. The human warships reached out with invisible hands of twisted gravity. Alien military bases were gently compressed until their weapons stopped working. Spaceports were carefully disassembled while leaving nearby hospitals untouched. Defense. Satellites were plucked from orbit and set down in empty fields. Admiral Kethvar watched in horror as his planet's defenses were methodically disabled without a single explosion. The humans were demonstrating surgical precision that should have been impossible in space warfare. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we are receiving similar reports from all Alliance home systems. Human fleets have appeared everywhere simultaneously. They are disabling our military forces without destroying our cities." Lieutenant Commander Yoon was leading boarding parties onto captured alien ships throughout the galaxy. Her teams moved through enemy vessels with equipment that seemed like magic to the aliens. Gravity suits that let humans walk on walls and ceilings. Energy weapons that could stun enemies without permanent damage. "Secure the bridge," she commanded as her team moved through a Helix warship. "Remember, we want prisoners, not corpses. These aliens have families too." The Helix crew had barricaded themselves in their command center, but human technology made their defenses useless. Yoon's soldiers walked through solid walls using dimensional phase shifters. They appeared behind enemy positions like ghosts. "Surrender!" she called out in perfect Helix language. Human linguists had been studying alien communications for decades. "You are defeated, but you are not doomed. Cooperate, and you will be treated with respect." The alien captain was a massive creature with 4 arms and metal skin, but he was shaking with fear. He had heard stories about human brutality from Viridian propaganda. He expected torture and execution. Instead, when he surrendered, the humans gave him medical attention for wounds suffered in the battle. They provided food that met his species' dietary needs. They even allowed him to contact his family to tell them he was alive. Captain Hoon received reports from strike fleets across the galaxy. Every human attack had succeeded perfectly. Alien military forces were being systematically dismantled while civilian populations remained unharmed. "Commander Sora," he said, "what are the casualty reports?" Sora checked her data screens. "Minimal losses on both sides, Captain. Human forces have disabled over 50,000 alien military vessels. Enemy military casualties are less than 10,000. Civilian casualties are 0. Hoon felt proud of his species. Humans could have destroyed entire worlds in revenge for the attempted genocide. Instead, they were showing mercy that the aliens had never expected, but the demonstration of human power was having effects across the galaxy that went far beyond military victory. On the Helix homeworld, General Torval was receiving reports that terrified him more than any battle could. The humans were not just defeating his forces, they were studying them, learning from them, taking their technology and making it better. "Sir," his science officer reported, "the humans have captured our latest battlecruiser designs. But according to our sensors, they are already modifying the ships with improvements we never thought of." "What kind of improvements?" Torval demanded. "They have increased engine efficiency by 40%. They have made the shields stronger while using less power. They have added weapon systems that operate in multiple dimensions simultaneously." Torval realized the terrible truth. Humans were not just winning this war, they were learning from it. Every alien technology they captured made them stronger. Every battle made them smarter. The Viridian alliance began to fracture as member species realized they were facing an enemy beyond their understanding. The Moss people surrendered their entire fleet without firing a shot. The Silicon Collective offered to share their technology in exchange for peace. The energy beings simply disappeared into deep space, hoping to avoid human attention. Admiral Chan was coordinating the occupation of 12 alien home systems from his flagship. Human ships were positioned around every planet, but they were not behaving like conquerors. Instead, they were offering aid to alien populations that had been oppressed under Viridian rule. Captain Lee, he spoke to one of his subordinates. What is the situation on the former slave worlds? Captain Lee's image appeared on his screen from orbit around a planet where millions of aliens had been forced to work in mines. Admiral, the local population is celebrating our arrival. They are calling us liberators, not invaders. This was happening throughout Viridian space. Species that had been conquered by the Alliance were welcoming human forces as rescuers. The galaxy was learning that humans fought wars to protect the innocent, not to gain territory. But the most important lesson was being learned by the Viridian leadership themselves. They had started this war believing that humans were violent savages who needed to be destroyed. Instead, they discovered that humans were the most precise warriors in the galaxy. Admiral Kethvar sat in his crystal prison cell, guarded by human soldiers who treated him with professional courtesy. Through his window, he could see his homeworld functioning normally. The humans had removed his military forces but left his people free. Why? He asked his human guard, a young woman named Private Yoon. Why do you show mercy to enemies who planned your extinction? Private Yoon considered the question seriously. Because, she said finally, showing mercy when you have absolute power is what separates civilization from barbarity. You tried to destroy us because you feared what we might become. We are showing you what we choose to be. Across the galaxy, the message was spreading through every communication network. Humanity had not just survived the attempt at genocide, they had turned the tables completely. The hunters had become the hunted, but the predators had chosen to be protectors. The war that was supposed to end humanity had instead announced their arrival as the galaxy's new guardians. And every species in known space was beginning to understand that the age of Viridian dominance was over. The age of humanity had begun. The news traveled faster than light across the galaxy through quantum communication networks. In less than 1 week, humanity had destroyed the most powerful military fleet in galactic history and occupied 12 major star systems without killing a single civilian. Species that had never heard of Earth were suddenly very interested in learning about humans. Captain Ray stood on the bridge of the Cheongwade as it approached the Telthan-home system. Her ship looked like a diplomatic vessel from the outside, but it was actually a mobile fortress that could destroy entire solar systems. The message was clear. Humanity came in peace but was prepared for anything. Captain, her communications officer reported, we are receiving over 3,000 requests for diplomatic meetings. Every major species in this sector wants to talk to us. Ray smiled. 3 weeks ago, most alien species had ignored humans or treated them like annoying insects. Now they were begging for meetings and offering gifts. Fear was a powerful motivator. Schedule meetings with the reasonable ones, she decided. For the others, let them wait. They need to learn that threatening human children has consequences. Admiral Sung was overseeing the transformation of former Viridian territories from his command ship New Sol. Planets that had been under alien military rule for centuries were voting to join the newly formed Terran Federation. The aliens had ruled through fear, but humans were ruling through hope. Admiral, reported Colonel Jin from the surface of a liberated world, the local population has requested human governance systems. They want individual freedoms and scientific research programs like the ones on Earth. Sung nodded. This was happening everywhere. Alien populations that had been oppressed for generations were embracing human ideas about democracy, education, and technological progress. The galaxy was changing faster than anyone had expected, but the most important changes were happening in the minds of alien leaders who were beginning to understand what they had attempted to destroy. Commander, I was studying reports from human research teams across occupied space. They had been analyzing captured alien technology and making discoveries that explained humanity's rapid victory. Admiral, she told Sung, we now understand why human engineering surpassed alien technology so quickly. It is not just about intelligence, it is about how human brains work. She displayed brain scans on the main screen showing the differences between human and alien neural patterns. Alien minds are highly logical and organized, she explained. They think in straight lines and follow established patterns. This makes them excellent at improving existing technology, but terrible at revolutionary breakthroughs. And human minds? Sung asked, though he suspected he knew the answer. Human brains are chaotic, Na continued. Our neural networks are unpredictable, emotional, creative. We make connections that logical minds cannot see. We imagine possibilities that organized thinking cannot reach. Sung understood. Humans had not won this war through superior firepower or better organization. They had won through superior imagination. While aliens had been improving their existing weapons, humans had been inventing entirely new forms of warfare. The psychological impact of this realization was spreading through alien populations like a virus. Species that had considered themselves superior to humans were discovering that they had been surpassed by the galaxy's most creative minds. Captain Bin was leading exploration missions to the edge of Viridian space, searching for species that might still be hostile to humanity. His ship Pioneer's Dream was equipped with the most advanced sensors in human history. But he was also carrying ambassadors and teachers. Captain, his science officer reported, long-range sensors have detected a massive alien fleet hiding in the Vortex Nebula. Energy signatures suggest they are preparing for war. Bin studied the data. The fleet was composed of species he had never encountered before, aliens from outside. Viridian space who had heard about humanity's victories and decided to attack before humans could grow stronger. How many ships? He asked. Approximately 80,000 vessels, Captain. They appear to be from multiple species working together. Bin considered his options. His single ship was outnumbered 80,000 to 1. Any sane commander would retreat and call for reinforcements. But Bin was human, and humans had stopped being sane the day aliens threatened their families. Send them a message, he decided. Tell them they have one chance to surrender peacefully. His communications officer looked confused. Sir, they outnumber us massively. Should we not request backup? No, Bin said calmly. Let them see what one human ship can do. Sometimes the best diplomacy is a demonstration of overwhelming force. The Pioneer's Dream moved toward the hidden alien fleet alone. The enemy commanders watched in disbelief as a single human vessel approached their armada. They assumed it was either a trick or an act of suicide. They were about to learn it was neither. Back in the occupied territories, former Viridian leaders were being educated about human history and culture. The goal was not to humiliate them, but to help them understand why their attempted genocide had failed so completely. Admiral Kethvar was attending a lecture by Professor Song, a human historian who specialized in warfare. The crystal being had expected propaganda and threats. Instead, he was receiving the most comprehensive military education of his life. The key to understanding human warfare, Professor Song explained, is understanding human motivation. Other species fight for territory, resources, or dominance. Humans fight for family. She showed images of human colonies, families, children playing in parks on distant worlds. When you threatened our children, she continued, you did not threaten our government or our military. You threatened every human's reason for living. You turned every mother and father in our species into your personal enemy. Kethavar was beginning to understand the magnitude of the Alliance's mistake. They had not declared war on a government or an army. They had declared war on love itself, but why show mercy? He asked. Why not destroy us completely? Professor Song smiled sadly. Because that would make us like you. Humans fight to protect our families, not to destroy other people's families. The moment we become genocidal monsters is the moment we lose what makes us worth protecting. Similar conversations were happening across human-occupied space. Alien prisoners were being educated rather than executed. Former enemies were being offered chances at redemption. The galaxy was witnessing something unprecedented. A conquest based on moral superiority rather than military might. Captain Ray was meeting with representatives of the Ethereal Collective, a species of energy beings who controlled trade routes throughout the galaxy. They had requested the meeting after witnessing human precision in warfare. We wish to understand, their spokesperson communicated through light patterns, how your species achieved such rapid technological advancement. Our scientists estimate it should have taken millennia to develop such capabilities. Ray considered how to explain human development without revealing military secrets. We had excellent teachers, she said finally. Every crashed alien ship on our worlds, every piece of technology we traded for, every spy we caught gave us information. We learned from all of you. But learning and improving are different things, the ethereal replied. You did not simply copy our technology. You made it better. How? Because, Ray explained, you taught us separately. The axioms taught us about energy manipulation. The helix taught us about gravity control. The Moss people taught us about biological systems. You all kept your knowledge secret from each other, but you shared it with us through trade and warfare. The realization hit the ethereal like a physical blow. Humanity had become technologically superior by combining the best innovations from every species in the galaxy. While aliens had competed with each other, humans had learned from everyone. We propose an alliance, the ethereal finally communicated. Our people wish to join the Terran Federation. Ray nodded. This was the 15th species to make such a request this week. The galaxy was choosing sides and most were choosing humanity. But the most important development was happening on Earth itself. Admiral Hana stood in the same underground command center, where she had received the alien ultimatum, but now she was planning humanity's future as a galactic power. Admiral, Captain Wu reported, we have received formal surrender documents from 43 alien species. They are requesting integration into human territory under Federation law. And the holdouts? Hana asked. 17 species are still hostile, Commander Nari replied. But intelligence suggests they are more afraid of each other than they are of us. Some are requesting human protection from traditional enemies. Hana realized that humanity had achieved something unprecedented in galactic history. They had become the dominant military power not through conquest, but through demonstration of moral and technological superiority. The war that was meant to end humanity had instead established them as the galaxy's new leaders. And unlike every previous dominant species, humans were using their power to create rather than destroy. The age of human guardianship had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. The stars belonged to the Varathians, and they had belonged to them for 300 years. Every species in the galaxy knew this truth. The Varathian Empire stretched across 2,000 star systems, and their warships numbered in the tens of thousands. When the Varathians wanted something, they took it. When they gave an order, species obeyed. This was the way of things, and nobody questioned it anymore. The Galactic Council met in a massive station that floated between stars, far from any single world. Representatives from 47 different species gathered in the Great Chamber, but everyone knew the truth. The Council existed to make Varathian commands sound like agreements. The representatives would debate and discuss, but in the end, they would vote exactly as the Varathians wanted. Those who voted differently found their worlds facing economic sanctions, blockades, or worse. The Varathian delegate was a tall creature named High Chancellor Vexith. His species stood on two legs like many intelligent races, but their skin was thick and gray like stone. Their eyes glowed with a faint red light, and when they spoke, their voices rumbled like distant thunder. Vexith sat in the largest chair in the council chamber, elevated above all others. This was not official protocol, but nobody dared suggest he move. On this particular day, Vexith had called the council together for an announcement. The other delegates sat in their assigned seats, waiting. Some species whispered to each other nervously. Others sat in silence, their various forms of faces showing resignation. They all knew what was coming. The Varathians had found another world to conquer. Honorable members of the council, Vexith began, his voice filling the chamber without need for amplification. The Empire has made a discovery that will benefit all species under our protection. Our long-range scout ships have located a new world in the outer regions of the galaxy. The planet is designated as Sol 3 by our navigation systems, though the primitive inhabitants call it Earth. The delegates leaned forward slightly. A new world always meant new resources, new labor, new tribute flowing to the Empire. Some species might receive small portions of the wealth, if they pleased the Varathians enough. Vexith continued. Initial scans show the planet is rich in mineral resources and supports a thriving biosphere. More importantly, it is inhabited by an intelligent species that calls themselves humans. However, our intelligence division has completed a full assessment, and the results are amusing. He activated a holographic display in the center of the chamber. Images appeared, showing a blue and green world orbiting a yellow star. The planet looked beautiful, covered in oceans and clouds. Then the display zoomed in, showing cities, vehicles, and the inhabitants themselves. As you can see, Vexith said with something that might have been a smile. The humans are a remarkably primitive species. They have only recently begun to venture beyond their own planet. Their fastest ships use chemical combustion for propulsion. Chemical combustion. Like burning wood to create movement, they have managed to place a few individuals on their own moon, which they consider a great achievement. Several delegates made sounds that might have been laughter in their various languages. Chemical rockets were the kind of technology most species abandoned thousands of years ago. It was like discovering a civilization that still used stone tools. Furthermore, Vexith continued, the humans have no unified planetary government. They are divided into nearly 200 separate political entities, many of which are in conflict with each other. They fight wars over resources, territory, and ideology. Their largest weapons are crude nuclear devices that split atoms, effective for destroying each other perhaps, but utterly useless against modern shielding technology. The display showed more images. Human cities, human vehicles, human spacecraft that looked fragile and small, to the assembled species, who traveled between stars and commanded energy weapons. The humans looked like children playing with toys. The Empire has decided, Vexith announced, that Sol 3 and its surrounding system will be incorporated into Vorathian territory. The humans will be given the opportunity to surrender peacefully and become a productive member of the Empire. If they refuse, they will be subdued through standard military protocols. Fleet Admiral Kreth has been assigned to lead the 7th Subjugation Fleet to the Sol system. A hologram of Admiral Kreth appeared next to the images of Earth. Kreth was even larger than Vexith, his armor covered in decorations that marked centuries of military service. His red eyes burned brighter than most Vorathians, a sign of his enhanced combat biology. Kreth had personally overseen the subjugation of 9 separate civilizations. He had never failed a mission. The 7th Fleet consists of 847 warships, Vexith said. This includes 6 dreadnoughts, 42 battleships, 150 cruisers, and various support vessels. Standard protocol for a pre-FTL civilization is typically 100 ships. However, Admiral Kreth has requested additional forces to ensure a proper demonstration of Imperial might. The humans should understand, immediately and completely, that resistance is impossible. The delegate from Thaxia, a small insectoid species, raised one of its forearms. High Chancellor, if I may ask, is such a large fleet necessary for a species that cannot even travel faster than light? It seems excessive. Vexith's eyes fixed on the Thaxian, and the delegate immediately lowered its arm. The size of the fleet is not only about military necessity, delegate. It is about sending a message to all species in the galaxy. The Empire's power is absolute. Our resources are unlimited. We can afford to send nearly 1,000 warships to subjugate a primitive world because we have tens of thousands more. Let every species remember this lesson. The Thaxian delegate said nothing more. Around the chamber, other representatives shifted uncomfortably. The message was clear. The Vorathians could overwhelm any opposition with pure numbers, even when fighting an enemy that posed no real threat. The operation will begin in 3 standard weeks. Vexith continued. The 7th Fleet is currently assembling at Staging Point Gamma. Admiral Kreth has estimated the entire operation will take less than 1 planetary rotation of Earth. The humans will see our ships arrive. They will receive our ultimatum, and they will surrender. If they are foolish enough to resist, their military capabilities will be eliminated within hours. Then, we will proceed with standard integration protocols. Standard integration protocols. Every species in the chamber knew what that meant. The humans would be forced to dismantle most of their military. Their resources would be cataloged and taxed. Their labor would be directed toward imperial projects. Their culture would be allowed to exist only as long as it did not conflict with Vorathian interests. Within a generation, Earth would be just another subjugated world, its people just another population serving the Empire. This council session will remain open, Vexith announced. All member species will have access to live feeds from the 7th Fleet during the operation. Admiral Kreth has graciously agreed to broadcast the entire subjugation so that the galaxy may witness Vorathian efficiency. I expect all delegates to watch and to share these broadcasts with their home governments. Let this serve as a reminder of the Empire's strength and the futility of resistance. With that, Vexith stood and left the chamber. The other delegates remained seated for a moment, processing what they had heard. Then, slowly, they began to leave as well, returning to their quarters to send messages to their homeworlds. The Thaxian delegate met quietly with the delegate from Draxus, a species of mammalian creatures with thick fur and sharp teeth. They stood in a side corridor, away from the main traffic of the station. "Do you think the humans know?" the Thaxian asked quietly. "Do they have any idea what is coming for them?" The Draxian shook its head sadly. How could they? They barely understand that other intelligent species exist. They have been shouting into the void with their radio transmissions for decades, hoping someone might answer. Now someone has answered, and it is the worst possible response. "I feel pity for them," the Thaxian said. "They seem so hopeful in their transmissions. They speak of peace and cooperation between species. They dream of a united galaxy working together for common good. Then they are fools," the Draxian replied, though there was sadness in its voice. "The galaxy is not a place of cooperation. It is a place of dominance and submission. The Varathians dominate, and the rest of us submit. That is reality. The humans will learn this lesson, as we all did. At least they might survive," the Thaxian said. "The Varathians do not usually exterminate species that surrender quickly. If the humans are wise, they will accept the first ultimatum." "Perhaps," the Draxian agreed. "But I have studied their transmissions. Humans are a stubborn species. They fight among themselves constantly, but they also have a strong sense of pride. They might do something foolish. They might resist. Then they will die," the Thaxian said simply. 847 Vorathian warships against chemical rockets and nuclear weapons? It would not be a battle. It would be an execution. The two delegates parted ways, each returning to their quarters to compose messages to their governments. Throughout the station, similar conversations were happening. Some species felt pity for the humans. Some felt relief that the Vorathians were focused elsewhere. A few felt anger at the injustice of it all, but kept their feelings hidden. Anger against the Empire was dangerous. In the highest levels of the station, in a secure command center that only Vorathians could access, High Chancellor Vexith met with Admiral Kreth via holographic communication. Kreth's image stood in the center of the room, life-sized and imposing. "The Council has been informed," Vexith reported. "They will watch the operation as required." Some expressed sympathy for the humans, but nobody objected to the annexation. "Of course they did not object," Kreth replied. "They fear us too much." "As they should. Have you reviewed my operational plans?" "I have. The fleet strength seems more than adequate. I approved your request for additional ships because I agree with your reasoning. This operation should be a demonstration of overwhelming force. Let the galaxy see what happens to species that cannot defend themselves." Kreth nodded. "The 7th Fleet will arrive in the Sol system in exactly 3 weeks. We will emerge from hyperspace near the 4th planet, which the humans call Mars. From there, we will transmit the standard ultimatum in all major human languages. I have studied their communication systems. They use something called Internet, a primitive network that connects their entire planet. We will broadcast directly to every human device, simultaneously." "What do you expect their response to be?" Vexith asked. "Complete panic," Kreth said with satisfaction. "Their governments will scramble to communicate with us. There will be confusion, disagreement about how to respond. Some will want to fight, but their military leaders will quickly realize they have no chance. Within 6 hours, perhaps less, a surrender will be offered. If not, we will begin systematic destruction of military installations. They will surrender after losing a few bases. And if they continue to resist," Kreth's eyes glowed brighter, "then we will begin orbital bombardment of their largest cities. One destroyed city will be enough. They will surrender immediately after that. Humans are emotional creatures. According to our psychological profiles, they will not sacrifice their civilian populations for a war they cannot win." "Excellent," Vexith said. "Remember, Admiral, this operation is being broadcast to the entire galaxy. Make it clean, make it efficient, and make it terrifying. I want every species to watch and to understand that the Empire is invincible. It will be done, High Chancellor. The 7th Fleet will bring glory to the Empire. The humans will become a footnote in our history, just another primitive species that learned to kneel before Vorathian power." The holographic communication ended. Vexith stood alone in the command center, looking out through a massive window at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, the humans continued their lives, unaware that their fate had been decided. In 3 weeks, their world would change forever. Vexith felt no guilt about this. The galaxy operated on simple principles. The strong dominated the weak. The advanced controlled the primitive. The Empire took what it wanted because it had the power to do so. This was natural law, played out on a galactic scale. The humans would learn this lesson soon enough, and the rest of the galaxy would watch and remember why they served the Empire without question. 3 weeks. That was all the freedom Earth had left. The Vorathian 7th Fleet emerged from hyperspace like a dark cloud spreading across the sky. 847 warships materialized near Mars, their hulls reflecting the distant light of the sun. Each ship was massive, built for war and intimidation. The smallest vessels were the size of human aircraft carriers. The largest dreadnoughts stretched over 5 kilometers from bow to stern, bristling with weapons that could crack planets. On the bridge of the flagship Eternal Dominion, Fleet Admiral Kreth stood before the main view screen, watching the red planet Mars grow larger as his fleet assumed formation. Around him, dozens of Vorathian officers worked at their stations, coordinating the movements of hundreds of ships with practiced efficiency. The bridge was a cathedral of military power, its ceiling rising 20 meters above the deck, its walls covered in tactical displays. "Fleet formation complete, Admiral," reported the tactical officer. "All ships report ready status. No damage from hyperspace transition. Scan the system," Kreth ordered. "Full spectrum analysis. I want to know the location of every human vessel, every satellite, every installation. Leave nothing unobserved." The sensor officer worked at her console, directing the fleet's scanning arrays toward the inner system. "Scanning now, Admiral. Initial results show multiple artificial satellites around the third planet. Primitive communication and observation platforms. We are detecting chemical rocket launches from the surface. Seems to be routine cargo deliveries to a small orbital station. No military vessels detected beyond the planet's immediate orbital space." Kreth nodded. This matched intelligence projections exactly. The humans had managed to place a small station in orbit around their world, but they had no deep space navy, no patrol ships, no early warning network beyond their primitive satellites. They were blind to threats from beyond their own moon. "Open a channel to the Galactic Council," Kreth commanded. "All frequencies. Let them witness this moment." Across the galaxy, on the Council Station and on the homeworlds of 47 species, view screens activated. Billions of beings watched as the Vorathian fleet hung in space near Mars, a display of overwhelming military might. In the council chamber, delegates took their seats, preparing to witness what they assumed would be a quick and inevitable subjugation. "Channel open, Admiral," the communications officer reported. "Attention, species of Earth," Kreth began, his voice being translated simultaneously into 17 human languages by Vorathian computers. "I am Fleet Admiral Kreth of the Vorathian Empire. Your world has been selected for incorporation into Imperial territory. You will immediately cease all military activities and prepare to receive occupation forces. You have 6 hours to transmit your unconditional surrender. If you comply, your species will be integrated peacefully into the Empire. You will be protected, governed, and put to productive use. Resistance will be met with complete military destruction. You cannot win. You cannot escape. You can only choose how you wish to survive. Comply and live. Resist and face extinction. You have 6 hours." The transmission ended. On the bridge of Eternal Dominion, the officers waited for the human response. Based on psychological profiles, the humans would need at least an hour to process what was happening, to organize their governments, to debate their options. Kreth expected panicked transmissions, requests for clarification, desperate pleas for more time. The response came in 2 minutes. A single transmission, audio only, from something called NORAD Combined Space Command. The voice was human, male, speaking in English with a flat, emotionless tone. "Negative. Maintain position beyond lunar orbit or be engaged. This is your only warning. NORAD out." For a moment, the bridge of Eternal Dominion was silent. The officers looked at each other in confusion. Then Kreth began to laugh, a deep rumbling sound that echoed through the chamber. "Did you hear that?" he asked his crew. They threatened us. A species with chemical rockets has threatened the Varathian Empire. They warned US. He laughed again. I have conquered 9 civilizations. I have burned worlds and scattered fleets. And these primitives think they can engage us. Across the galaxy, the reaction was different. In the council chamber, delegates shifted nervously. The Thaxian delegate spoke quietly to the Draxian beside him. They rejected the ultimatum. In 2 minutes. They didn't even debate it. They are fools, the Draxian replied. Or they do not understand what they face. On the Eternal Dominion, Kreeth's laughter faded into cold anger. Communications. Send this message to Earth. Tell them they have made a fatal mistake. Tell them we are advancing, and we will accept nothing less than total surrender. All other responses will result in the destruction of their species. Yes, Admiral, the communications officer began, but Kreeth cut her off. Actually, no. Send nothing. Words are wasted on these creatures. All ships, advance to Earth. Bombardment formation. We will teach these humans the price of defiance. The massive fleet began to move. 847 warships accelerating toward the third planet. They moved in perfect formation, a demonstration of Varathian military discipline. The dreadnoughts formed the center, surrounded by battleships and cruisers, with frigates and destroyers forming a protective screen. It was a formation designed to crush any opposition while protecting the core command vessels. Estimate time to Earth orbit? Kreeth asked. At current speed, 43 minutes. Admiral, excellent. Maintain full sensor scans. If the humans launch any weapons, I want to know immediately. Though I doubt they will be foolish enough to. Admiral, the sensor officer's voice cut through the bridge. Multiple contacts, hundreds of signatures appearing across the system. What? Kreeth strode to the sensor station. Where did they come from? Did they use FTL? That's impossible. They don't have the technology. No hyperspace signatures detected, Admiral. They were already there. They were hiding. The signatures are appearing because they're dropping their stealth measures. Sir, they were all around us. In the asteroid belt, near the outer planets, even in Mars's orbital space, we were completely surrounded, and we didn't know it. On the main view screen, tactical displays updated rapidly. Red icons appeared on the plot, dozens of them, then hundreds. Each icon represented a vessel of unknown type, positioned throughout the solar system in what was clearly a pre-planned defensive formation. Across the galaxy, species watched in shock. The Thaxian delegate stood up from his seat. How is this possible? The intelligence reports said they had no deep space capability. Kreeth stared at the display, his mind racing. Analysis. What type of ships are these? What are their capabilities? Unknown, Admiral. They don't match any known design. Their energy signatures are unlike any propulsion system in our database. They appear to be using some form of reaction drive, but the efficiency is far beyond what should be possible for a pre-FTL species. They're cold running, minimal thermal emissions. That's why our scans didn't detect them. How many? Kreeth demanded. Still counting, sir. Current estimate is 437 contacts. No correction. 612. They're still appearing as they deactivate stealth systems. 600 ships. Against 800 Varathian vessels. It was still favorable odds, but this was nothing like what intelligence had predicted. These humans were not primitives stumbling into first contact. They had been waiting. They had prepared. Sir, we're receiving a new transmission from Earth, the communications officer reported. Play it, Kreeth ordered. The same flat, emotionless voice from NORAD filled the bridge. Varathian fleet. You were ordered to maintain position beyond lunar orbit. You advanced into our defensive perimeter. You will now retreat to beyond Mars orbit, or you will be engaged. You have 60 seconds to comply. Kreeth's fists clenched. Retreat? They dare order us to retreat? Lock weapons on the nearest human vessel. All ships, prepare to open fire on my command. We will show these animals what happens when you threaten the Empire. Admiral, recommend caution, the tactical officer said carefully. We don't know their capabilities. Perhaps we should. Enough, Kreeth roared. We are the Varathian Empire. We do not show caution to primitives. We do not retreat from inferiors. All ships, target the human vessels and fire at will. The Varathian fleet opened fire. Energy weapons blazed across space. thousands of plasma bolts streaking toward the human ships. It was overwhelming firepower, enough to vaporize conventional vessels, enough to shatter shields and melt armor. But the human ships moved. They didn't maneuver like normal spacecraft. There was no slow turn, no gradual acceleration. They moved with sudden, violent bursts of speed, their reaction drives firing in sharp pulses. The Vorathian targeting computers, designed to track conventional vessels, couldn't keep up. 90% of the shots missed completely. The few shots that did connect struck human vessels, and their shields absorbed the hits. Not energy shields like the Vorathians used, but something else. Ablative armor that burned away under plasma fire, sacrificing outer layers to protect the ship beneath. It was a primitive solution, but it worked. "They're scattering," the tactical officer reported, "adopting irregular formations, unpredictable movement patterns. Our targeting computers cannot achieve lock." And then the humans fired back. The first shot came from a vessel lurking in Mars's shadow. It wasn't an energy weapon. It was something far simpler and far more terrible. A solid projectile, accelerated to 30% of the speed of light by electromagnetic rails. A kinetic kill vehicle. Nothing but dense metal moving at relativistic speeds. It struck the lead dreadnought